required by section 84-1412 subsection 8 of Nebraska statutes. Notice is hereby given that a copy of the Open Meeting Act is posted for your examination on the wall inside the doors of the City Council chambers. And before we have roll call, I'd just like to welcome our guests, although they're at you tonight, but nonetheless, you're welcome. Could we have roll call, please?
George Klein,
Here.
Shane Shepherd,
Here.
Mark Graves,
Here.
Kevin Alexi,
Here.
Clay Anderson.
Here.
Quick question before we get started. As far as the mics, last time we had to individually turn them on every time we wanted to speak. Do we still need to do that, or should we have them on continuously?
No, in order to help with some of the feedback, and Shane, don't push that down in there. We're ordering the new stands for them, and Jeff Wing and I are working on this. But yes, we'd like to have you guys to help with some of the feedback to the audience out in public land. If you guys could, take your time and just hit your mic so that they can hear you at that time. Plus, it also puts you at the right level or right distance from the mics, if you can reach the mic to turn on the button to help them out, to just remind people that we want to be at a certain place so the public can hear us, so.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, would someone like to make a motion for approval of the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Clay to approve the agenda. Could we have roll call, please?
Shepherd,
Yes.
Graves,
Yes.
Alexi,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes. Could we have a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve of the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Motion by Shane, seconded by Kevin to approve the consent agenda. It includes minutes for the city council meeting from January 20th, monthly treasurer's reports for November and December, which I hope the council members at least scan those for information about expenditures. If you compare it to the prior year, we're doing our part to keep the economy rolling, I guess. And that is all the consent agenda. So could we have roll call, please?
Shepherd,
Yes.
Graves,
Yes.
Alexi,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes. Moving on to item B on the agenda. Someone care to introduce?
I'll introduce resolution 2025-6. Move for its approval.
I'll second that.
Motion by Shane, seconded by Mark for resolution 2025-6 to authorize requests for qualifications from consultants for services in connection with future airfield development projects at Chatham Municipal Airport. And Janet will give us some background of what we need this for and the reason.
Good evening, Mayor,
thereof.
council members. Janet Johnson, 234 Main Street. I think this is, as I stated right before the meeting started, I think this is at least the third, maybe the fourth time that I've helped with the selection of airport engineers. This is something that by FAA regulations, the city has to do every 5 years. However, the one thing that is different about this selection period that is, from the other times that I've done it, FAA NDA has taken a better or more firm hold of what we're doing. They're regulating exactly everything we're doing, down to even the questions that we have to ask the consultants. We have to send the RFQ out to 10 consultants, at least 10 consultants. We have to put it on their website. We have to put it on a consultant's website also, not just put it in our newspaper, which probably makes sense because I doubt that there's a lot of consultants in the state of Nebraska that read our newspaper. So that will help us get the information out to the people that need the information. On the RFQ, there are 11 projects, and I know that you have it in your packets, that could come up in the next 5 years that we may or may not be able to do if the funding is right. As past projects, we are 95% split, so on any of those projects, if we were to do them, the city's share is only 5%. So back to the actual selection process. It's very, very tight timeline. Once we actually get the packets back from the consultants that choose to submit their information, we only have 2 weeks to actually look at the material and then make our recommendation to the city council. And then we turn around and then take the city council's recommendation, and I have to get that information back to NDA really, really quickly. Again, this is all new regulations from them. I don't know if people were just waiting too long and stringing the process out, but everything's very tight this year. So with the next thing is who's going to actually help us select those consultants. But in your packet, like I said, there are 11 areas that we are looking at for these engineers to put together in their proposals. So the things that they're going to tell us is whether they've actually done runway construction, whether they've actually done the lighting that we're looking at in a couple of those different proposals. We're also looking at a proposal for a new building for our snow equipment. And hopefully, if there's funding for all of these things. But redoing our taxiways. And we have the 11 different projects on there for specific reasons, because if something were to happen to one of our runways, of course they are larger dollar, and then the other projects will fall away. But if our runways hold out, then we will hopefully be able to update some of our lighting and maybe one of the taxiways. But it all depends upon how things hold up and how things, just like our streets. We put things on our 1 and 6 plan, but some streets will hold up longer and they fall to the bottom, and other things rise to the top. So that's why we have so many projects on there. Any questions?
Anybody have any direct questions regarding the resolution 2025-6? Then we'll continue with the selection of the committee.
I was just wondering, on these 11 projects, are we trying to do them all?
We will not be able to do them all simply because we won't have enough time, number one, and we won't have enough funding.
Right.
But if they're not all on there, and one of those projects, let's say one of the runways just falls apart, and if it weren't on there, we would not be able to do it in this 5-year funding cycle. So that's why we have to put them all on there.
And are these in any particular order? Is number 1 the number 1?
No,
Yeah.
not really.
Any other questions regarding the resolution? If not, could we have roll call, please?
Shepherd,
Yes.
Graves,
Yes.
Alexi,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes. Okay, now for the item C, which is appointing a selection committee to review the requests for qualifications that were just approved. There's information in our packet that is recommending that the committee consists of City Manager Tom Menke, Janet Johnson, Scott Schemmer, and 1 council member. So
I'd
open it up and,
nominate Clay if he's willing to do so.
Yeah, I'll be willing to do that.
And we were recommending Clay simply because, as I was saying, this is so tailored, and they're telling us what we have to do and what our choices are. They gave us the questions that we have to ask the consultants. They're telling us that money is not one of the questions. You know, like if one consultant says they'll do it for $50,000 and another one says they'll do it for $70,000, that's really not supposed to weigh into our decision. They've told us what each question's weight is, like if one question is 10% of our 100 points and the next question is 15%. I mean, they've told us all that breakdown. So in the grand scheme of things, there's not a whole lot to really think about, other than you have to read the proposals and you have to make sure that each one of the consultants knows what they're doing. Like they've done a runway before in the last 5 years, or they've done lighting projects, or they've done those types of things.
Did they give an explanation why we can't ask the financial question?
It's-
Why money shouldn't
You
be
know,
an
Clay,
issue?
I don't know why that is, but it's always been that way. Money is not supposed to be a criteria. I think that they want to make sure that we get a good engineer that knows what they're doing, rather than saying that the cheapest one is the best one. I think they want to make sure that you get somebody that knows what they're doing, because I don't know that you want people landing on a runway that's not
Okay.
really good to land on.
And you said the split on that is 95%.
95-5.
So the city is only on the hook for that 5%
Correct.
of the cost. So
But on a $6 or $8 million project, that's still a
it still
pretty
could
good
be a lot of
chunk.
money, but we're definitely the minority party
Correct.
in paying for it.
Correct. And that's all reimbursed. We have to pay for it up front, and then we get reimbursed.
well, with all that being said, would someone like to make a motion to encompass the previously mentioned individuals
I'll-
as being
I'll-
on the committee?
I'll second that. Was that a motion you made?
Did I make a
I
motion?
think you just nominated
I think
Clay.
I just
yeah.
nominated, I don't think I made the
Oh,
motion.
I'll make a motion to nominate Clay.
Okay, is that including Tom,
Oh,
Janet,
yeah,
Scott?
absolutely, yeah.
Form the committee as,
Yeah, yeah.
as written.
Yes.
Okay,
Tom, Janet, Scott, and Clay on the
I'll-
committee.
I'll second that.
okay. We had a motion by Shane, seconded by Kevin, to appoint the committee consisting of City Manager Tom Menke, Janet Johnson, Scott Schemmer, and Clay Anderson. Could we have roll call, please?
Shepherd,
Yes.
Graves,
Yes.
Alexi,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Item D on the agenda, Resolution 2025-7.
I'll introduce resolution 2025-7 and move for its adoption.
I'll second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Shane. Resolution 2025-7 to authorize requests for proposals, otherwise known as RFPs, for the review and update of the comprehensive plan for the city of Chadron. Janet, would you explain kind of what this comprehensive plan is and what's the objective and why it's required?
Comprehensive plan is really like a strategic plan for the city, and it is required by state statute. The last comprehensive plan that the city did was, we actually worked on it in 2014 and adopted it in 2015. It's your dream, it's your goals, it's your path to a better future for the city of Chadron. It does usually take between 8 and 12 months to achieve a comprehensive plan. there is a lot of, or there should be, a lot of community meetings and public hearings and a lot of community input. I know the first time I did a comprehensive plan, the steering committee was about I want to say it was like an 80-member board. George, do you remember going to those meetings where there was 60 to 80 people in a room? And we had to hold them up at the campus center, up at the college. And all of these little committees would break off and go into certain parts of the room and discuss different things and then come back together. But it's a very, very long process. If you don't get chosen to help select the consultants, don't feel bad. You'll go to enough community meetings and public hearings to put in your voice, to have your voice heard. One of the things that we did put into the comprehensive plan RFP was we have some good planning documents already in place. We've got the downtown revitalization plan. We've got our old comprehensive plan that I put in there that we do want them to take a look at. We've got the creative district, which is a new plan been put into place. We've got the trails, the Cowboy Trail Master Plan. I mean, we've got all these different plans that I think that any good planner would want to look at and then build upon. So I put that into the RFP for them to look at. Our last consultant was from Chicago. I'm not real sure how they got the information to even put their name into the hat to be chosen to do our comprehensive plan. Before that, we had a planner that was from Texas. But we've also had one from the Omaha-Lincoln area in my tenure with the city. So they've come from all over. It's a very exciting time for the city, in my opinion, and it can really help us forge our future.
Any other questions concerning the RFP? If not, could we have a roll call, please?
Shepherd,
Yes.
Graves,
Yes.
Yes.
Alexi,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes. Okay, item E on the agenda is to appoint a selection committee to review the request for proposals for the RFP, which would start it rolling once the RFPs come in. And the city is recommending Tom Menke, Janet Johnson, Katie Parks, and one council member. Do we have a?
They asked me,
Volunteer.
or Janet and Tom asked me if I would be willing to participate in that, and I would be interested, unless Kevin or Shane has a strong feeling like they would like to do that instead.
Not especially. I think what Janet said is very true. All of us will have some involvement in it at some point.
You'll have a lot of involvement.
Yeah.
Unlike the,
I'm okay with you.
Yeah.
Unlike the airport plan, we have our time, we can take our time with this a little bit, and I would think we would want to. There's no big push. I would like to have the whole plan done within a year. I don't think we want to have it out there much longer than that, maybe 8 months, if we can really get the community involved and engaged. And we have a planner that can engage the community. There's a lot of methods nowadays that are different than when I started doing this. You no longer have to have all those people in the room. You can do a lot of things online and on the city's website, and so.
I make a motion to, make a motion to, the committee members, makeup of Tom, Janet, Katie, and Mark.
I'll second.
Motion by Shane, seconded by Kevin to appoint Tom, Janet, Katie Parks, and Mark Graves to the committee selection committee to review the RFPs for the comprehensive plan. So, should we have roll call, please?
Shepherd,
Yes.
Graves,
Yes.
Alexi,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hey, discussion on the sidewalk improvement plan.
Where do
This,
you want to go?
Well, yeah, hopefully everyone in the community is aware of it. It's been in effect for at least 2 years, if not 3.
This is year 4.
This would be 4, so.
If you choose to do it, this would be year 4.
We've had a number of years. Last year's program authorized or allocated $30,000. There was total dollars spent at $22,634.24, which included some ADA cuts that were the city's responsibility on city property in the amount of $17,774.24. The amounts that went to general population, so to speak, was only 4 grants totaling $4,860, but it's a nice program. So the discussion is, should we continue it? It's in the budget. We could reallocate the budgeted dollars if we don't want to do it. I picked up some information off the internet, I think at Panhandle Post. The city of Alliance has a similar plan, and they pay the full quantity of sidewalk concrete toward the replaced sidewalk at residential locations and up to 5 cubic yards of sidewalk for commercial locations. So they're not restricting theirs to residential areas, so to speak. But and that's probably, and I think they've been doing it for a number of years. Is their program better than ours? Is our program better than theirs? Who knows?
I'm bringing it to you, excuse me, earlier this year than we have done in the last couple of years, simply because I'd like to get it out there to the public, to give them a little more time to reach contractors. I think that might have been the stumbling block a little bit last year, and why we had to extend it 1 month last year, our deadlines. Sometimes the property owner can't get the contractor to give them the information in a timely fashion, is what I was hearing a little bit last year. I have had 3 individuals ask me whether we were going to do this again this year, 3 owner-occupied residential properties. So I think there is a little bit of interest there. I do think that we could have more. I think that we could maybe do a little bit better of, getting the information out there.
I think it's a great plan. It's a good incentive to update sidewalks in the town as I go on walks often, and there are a lot of bad ones. So this is a great program to help clean those up.
Yeah, I'll agree. It's a great service that is provided. We used it last year on a part of our sidewalk. One thing I would suggest maybe is when it comes to paying the invoice to the contractors, sometimes it's not always possible for the homeowners or the owners to pay the full invoice up front. So is there a way we could pay our portion separately and have them pay that instead of reimbursing them right away? instead of having the
Are,
owners of the sidewalk.
are you asking, could the contractor give two invoices?
Yeah,
One to the,
yeah.
one to the city and one to the client? I don't know why that couldn't work.
Yeah, maybe that's.
I think that
Yeah.
would be more beneficial and give people a better incentive to
I
maybe
think that could
apply.
work. That's just process. I think that could work.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, it, someone might not be able to afford the whole thing, knowing they might not get paid for
Well,
30 days or something.
Well, yeah,
you know.
there could be, a 2-week to 4-week
Right.
lapse of being paid. I think that's a good suggestion,
Yeah.
Clay.
Does the program in the past attract many different contractors, or is it usually just a handful?
It's probably been between 6 and 8 contractors. It's just whoever has time and
Sure.
in that period.
But probably not difficult to discuss that
No, oh, no.
to invoice,
No.
yeah, so. Well, I would broadly be in favor of it as well. In running for city council, the number one thing that people have talked to me about is sidewalks. So I don't know if that's because they think I'm a sidewalk guy or what, but it is something I've heard quite a bit about, and I think it's a good program for the city to support.
Tom or Janet, does the city, if we don't get a lot of interest, does the city have some needs that,
We have
We
a
could-
list. We've been
okay.
creating a list. There's some more sidewalk on East Niobrara that we've identified. We've identified 3 more ADA curb cuts that we can install. There's more curb and gutter. We have a couple of spots where there are some water valves that have damaged the street pretty bad that we need to take care of. I mean, the list is endless. But I would personally prioritize sidewalk and ADA curb cuts. That's where my priority would be.
well, it's in the budget. Someone want to make a motion that we proceed with the program and the appropriate dollar amount that you,
I'll make the motion to proceed with the program and continue with the current dollar amount.
We've got $30,000 budgeted again this year, if that's where you would like to keep it.
yeah. Okay,
I'll second.
motion by Clay, seconded by Kevin to implement the program for 2025 in the amount of $30,000. Could we have roll call, please?
Shepherd,
Yes.
Graves,
Yes.
Alexi,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
So we'll come back next
Next time.
council
resolution.
meeting, and we'll have the timeline figured out for it then, too. Okay, thank you.
Moving on to item number G.
I'll introduce Resolution 2025-8 and move for its adoption.
I'll second that.
Motion by Kevin and seconded by Mark. Resolution 2025-8, which is to amend Resolution 2019-09 and adopt the revised special designation license. This is always referred to as SDL guidelines for the administrative approval of SDA applications. Have any questions, or maybe we ought to, Tom or Chief, you want to give us some background on this, or your opinions of why we need to change it?
Mayor, I would suggest that we refer to Katie, because I believe Katie was the
Okay.
one that brought up a lot of these suggestions, and she would have the best information for you.
So one of the main things we want to change in the resolution is that the committee right now is just the city manager, chief of police, and city clerk. We would like that to put or their designee in there in case somebody's not available, then they can appoint somebody to do that. And then on Exhibit A, is the updates to that. A lot of those are with the, new laws with the Nebraska Liquor Control Commission. And some of it's just to make it flow a little bit easier. This has been, reviewed by Adam Edmond, and he has approved the proposed changes.
Anyone have any questions for Katie or?
I thought it looked pretty straightforward to me. I think the administrative approval has been pretty effective for local license holders. I haven't been directly involved in that, but I know in the planning of fur trade days, I serve on that board. It's helped some of our liquor license holders have an easier path to getting approval during fur trade days.
If no other discussion, could we have roll call, please?
Shepherd,
Yes.
Graves,
Yes.
Alexi,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes. Moving on to item number H.
I'd like to introduce resolution 2025-9 and move for its approval.
I'll second.
Motion by Shane, seconded by Clay for resolution 2025-9. It's to approve progress estimate number 2 to McQueen Equipment for the high-speed loader mounted rotary plow for the Chadron Municipal Airport. This is progress, as mentioned, number 2 in the amount of $24,641.50. The engineers still have $5,000 as a retainage. It's kind of a follow-up on the controversy we had with the bills from last time. Now we got it all straightened out, and I think we're on target, so. Anybody have any questions? Okay, could we have a roll call, please?
Shepherd,
Yes.
Graves,
Yes.
Alexi,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes. Then item I, Community Development Advisory Committee. Jim Broderick has agreed to serve on this committee, so we need a motion to appoint him.
I'd make a motion to appoint Jim Broderick to the Community Development Advisory Committee.
I'll second that.
Motion by Shane, seconded by Clay, to appoint Jim Broderick to the Community Development Advisory Committee. Any discussion? If not, could we have a roll call, please?
Shepherd,
Yes.
Graves,
Yes.
Alexi,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes. I would like to make a motion to approve the claims as presented in our information, totaling up to $254,280.06.
I'll second.
Motion by me, seconded by Kevin, to approve those claims. In reviewing them, we mentioned in a prior meeting that the city manager's car was saying we shouldn't drive it, so we spent $3,203, and now it's good to go, I hope.
We're ready to go to Lincoln.
That's reassuring.
Yes, it is.
Any other questions? We had a few people apply for reimbursement of education expenses, which is always nice to see. So, any other questions? If not,
I did highlight one thing I was gonna ask.
Okay.
Just about the airbag in the ambulance. So was that a deployment airbag or like an airbag for lifting cars up? I was just trying to Usually those airbags are on the crash truck, but I just was curious. It was the fire tech ambulance repairs to airbag. If that was the actual vehicle airbag or something they use to extract people. Not a big deal, it's just a.
Can't answer that.
Yes.
I'll get a message from Brandon and
No, I should
I
have.
think Travis Plustra is the one that signed off on the bill, so we can ask those two and we'll get you an answer, Mark. I can't answer right off the bat.
That's fine. I was just curious. It's no concern, really.
And I just have one quick question on that new four-wheeler. Was that budgeted?
Yes, it's budgeted. We have approximately $20,000 set aside for the four-wheeler and the lawnmower that we're purchasing for the parks and cemetery area. And so with that, we were actually got a little bit better deal, so we did get a few extra parts and pieces on it that we weren't planning on putting it on, but we were able to do it. We added another, I think, $565 worth. It was like a windshield and the winch. So. The other thing I want to point out is Black Hills Energy. I know that we're concerned about how the energy cost and everything been going, but I'll point out what the swimming pool has been doing since we've been able to do some of the upgrades on some of that stuff. We've cut down over 2,000 therms, I guess is how they put it, in the swimming pool alone. Now, that may not seem like a lot to a lot of people, but the swimming pool itself, I believe, was a little over $4,500 or $4,600 out of that Black Hills Energy. And compared to last year, we used a little over 10,000, so they were able to cut down almost 19%. So the things that are getting done are actually saving us money in the long run. And as Janet and Sydney get more and more of those things taken care of, it's going to be one of those things that's it's going to be just really good for us. So that's just want to point it out. I think we're doing the right things in what we're doing. Costs us a little bit money up front, but in the long run, we're making the right decisions.
So we've had a chance to see how that new boiler is more efficient than the old one by quite a bit.
Well, the dual boilers have been doing their function because we have had to replace a couple of parts, so we haven't been down. Like there was a fan motor that we had replaced just like a month ago. So otherwise we would have been down for 3 weeks not having warm water. So the dual functioning is really helping in that regard. So yes, I'm pleased. Our next thing that we're investigating is how can we get those boilers to do more than just heat the water in the pool? Because we have both those boilers there, there's times when they could be doing more. And we're looking at possibly heating the showers with those boilers and getting rid of our Rain Eyes, which are on-demand water heaters that are very ancient. And I've already had one of the 4 go down on me, and we're just not replacing it because I'm hoping that we can get our boilers to replace them. We just have to figure out how we're going to do the expansion tank and the piping and some of the other things. We're working on it. So, thank you.
If there are no more questions, could you have roll call, please?
Shepherd,
Yes.
Graves,
Yes.
Alexi,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes. We do not need a resolution to excuse any of the council members. We now have our public comment period. If anyone wishes to address the council on a matter not on this agenda, they may do so, and you're allowed a total of 3 minutes to speak. I don't see any takers, so we'll move on to city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Just got a couple quick things I just want to bring up to everybody. Some of the things that is national news that a lot of people are bringing up, which is like the tariffs that President Trump is starting to impose. one of the things that I just want to point out, it does affect Chadron, Nebraska. Part of the parts and pieces we get for the aquatic center come from Canada. So those are the kind of things that we have to be wary of too, is when we're going forward and trying to get these things done. And that's why I encourage our staff to try to get parts and pieces and get their purchases done when they can during the off busy times. I mean, every time is busy for us, but we want to make sure we're getting the projects taken care of, the four-wheelers, the pickup trucks, those kind of things. We want to get those things done as soon as we can, that when we have some of the pricing secure. But with some of the tariffs that is being imposed on some of our neighboring countries and over across seas, I am fearful that we are going to have some higher costs coming into us on certain things. But thankfully, because of the staff getting those done, this time it paid off for us, getting some of those things taken care of. We're fixed in on some of our prices and such, and hopefully we can continue moving that way. The second thing I wanted to bring up is that we did have a swim meet here, and I believe it was fairly successful. Janet was kind of informing me a little bit on it earlier. It was held on Saturday and Sunday. We did close it down to the general public, but we have rough numbers of approximately 235 participants plus family members in the aquatic center on Saturday during that time. And then on Sunday was a little bit less, because that's when the finals, and those were the ones that are getting through finishing up some of their stuff. So we had those kind of members in our community. Thanks to the Sharks teams for putting it on. Thanks to Sydney and Miles for helping out with some of that. I believe the staff was very helpful in getting those taken care of. But not only did we bring in those members into our community, they stayed in our motels, ate our restaurant foods, did some other shopping, I hope. And these are the kind of events that we need to continue to have in Chadron to help us prosper. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, council closing comments. We'll start with Shane.
All right, I'd just like to point out the Northwest Trails Association received a grant for a planning assistance for the preparation of the completion of the Cowboy Trail and the community trail too, to connect the two. I think that's gonna be a good thing. I know a lot of people have been in bigger cities and stuff. They have a trail maps and stuff through the communities and stuff that they can take. It'd be nice if Chadron had that. Other than that, that's all I have.
Well, I was happy to see over the weekend with the swim meet that we're able to utilize our indoor swimming pool. It's been a long time coming for us to be able to do that, but I think it's a step in the right direction of getting people to come to Chadron for events, and hopefully with the occupation tax, we can have a few more funds to develop some of our other recreational facilities and bring even more people into Chadron.
I just wanted to share and comment on a local news item that caught my eye. There's an article on ChadronRadio.com titled "No Action Taken on Chadron's Plaza Restroom Funding During Commissioner Meeting." And the commissioner in question is not here, so I'm not going to call him out by name. But just the article said, during discussion, a commissioner voiced his opposition for ADA restrooms after apparently speaking with several people in the community, stating they don't feel ADA restrooms are necessary, and continuing, park restrooms are filthy and always locked. First of all, I just want to comment, if that is an issue that a citizen or anybody has, I think they should bring that to the city rather than their county commissioner. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Parks Department would be in charge of that, and the PD helps with locking and unlocking those. So I would direct that to the city council, or call the city and ask who you may speak to. And then I just looked up the, ADA requirements as they were revised in 2010. And this is a federal standard that sets minimum requirements for newly designed and constructed or altered state and local government facilities, public accommodations, and commercial facilities to be readily accessible and usable by individuals with disabilities. My understanding is that requirement is not optional. That's not something that we, that the city is putting on there as bells and whistles. This is a fancy restroom. This is a minimum requirement for those restrooms. I am passionate about the downtown plaza and about seeing that to completion. And I understand that wasn't a door closed in our face. Tom is able to go back to the commissioners later and provide them with some additional information. Unfortunately, I'm not able to attend that meeting, but I just did want to put out there for the public record that I support that, and I don't think it's an optional component of those restrooms. And on a lighter note, I saw that Punxsutawney Phil saw his shadow, 6 more weeks of winter. That was no surprise, since you can ask any old timer around the area how the winter is going to continue to be, and they have all universally told me that with a January this mild, we are in for some harsher winter weather in the next couple of months. So that's all I had. Thank you.
I'm just going to comment about the swim meet. I got to help out with it on Saturday. It went really well. I think the most important thing that we can see from it is how it impacts the kids, being able to have the opportunity to have this extracurricular activity that you don't really get to see in rural areas. And seeing and being told that there was over 60 competitors there was really great to hear. 8 teams from across the tri-state area. So I'm really thankful that the Chadron Sarks was able to get it to run as smoothly as they did.
Just want to tell the public, again, look at that sidewalk program, see if it fits your property, how your sidewalks, what the condition of them, the existing sidewalks. Maybe should be one, there's not, so they want to look at that. And the other thing is kind of far-fetched, but I went to attended Dr. Patterson's meeting with the public for Chadron State College, and it was kind of an interesting session. And kind of the last thing that he mentioned, Dr. Patterson, is when they're hiring new faculty, they're having trouble finding housing. And I remember, and you old people who've been here a while, at some point in time, I believe it was First National Bank in North Platte, now it's called First National Bank of Omaha, took a venture and they built a couple spec houses, which were later sold. Unfortunately, I think they probably lost money on it because they didn't continue with the program. But I'd like to throw something out there to the banks. The banks are big supporters of our communities, and maybe each bank could build a spec house for Chadron and maybe see how that'll work out. And hopefully they would break even on it. But maybe we can get a couple more houses built in the area that would alleviate some of this problem that we have when people move to town. There's our population doesn't change, and because there's fewer people in every house, we all know that. But it's just kind of throw out the gamut to the banks, and maybe they can think about that. Maybe they'll wake up in the middle of the night and say, "Hey, that's a great idea." Maybe they'll wake up in the middle of the night and say, "That damn Klein is the dumbest idea I ever heard." But I think it'd be something that maybe we could talk about and maybe encourage the banks to do. And anybody, but, the banks have certain amount that they spend up for community development. Platte Valley Bank came in and, remodeled the facility and gave us a nice community room to meet in, which is a nice help for the city of Chadron. And I'm sure there's probably some jealousy on the other parts of the other banks that say, well, if we would have had that space next to us, maybe we would have done the same thing, but they didn't. And so certain things fall to certain people at certain times. So that's my comment. So I make a motion and we adjourn.
I'll second that.
I made a motion, it is seconded by Shane and Mark. Could we have roll call, please?
Shepherd,
Yes.
Graves,
Yes.
Alexi,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes. See you in 2 weeks.